about myself. That's what I started out washing with, that R1337. There on the bottom of page 12.
Yeah.
I started out in a partnership with one of those, and we washed tractors and trailers. It's mainly been what I do. I go around to different lots, do it for big companies, and we made about $30 an hour. We had to brush them. We used a lot of soap when we did it, and from there I progressed on. My partnership split up. I bought a trailer, a hot water unit, went on to get a 500-gallon tank, and so on. But the jump was, when I went to a hot water unit, I went from about $30 an hour to around $60 an hour. And then I added then I decided to add this cold water unit back onto my trailer and run 2 guns. And what I did was I washed with hot water and rinsed with the cold water. And that'd run me around, that boosted my dollars per hour, probably in the area we're close to $8 an hour. You know, I hired a minimum wage laborer who rinsed them. And now I no longer have this cold water unit. I have another cold water unit that's equivalent to pressure. It runs about approximately 2,000 psi, 6 gallons a minute. I run 2 wash guns and rinse at the same time. And I'm averaging somewhere around $100 an hour.
Now come again, you're doing what? You got another rinse gun?
Yes. Well, it's not another rinse gun. I disposed of this unit. I've still got it, but it's not on my trailer.
Yeah.
That's what I go around and wash with. I have a hot water gun and a cold water gun. Both run about 2,000 psi to approximately 5 gallons a minute. And that's what I wash with. And I use those interchangeably on different projects. The heat comes in a lot handier. And I run somewhere around $100 an hour. That's what I do with that.
You're just conserving by using cold water wash, is that what you mean?
Well, I'm fixing to change it over to heat. I'm going to have 2 hot water guns. Here's this back.
Let me ask one thing, if you don't
Okay,
mind.
go ahead.
What's wrong with rinsing with hot water, other than it costs you to heat it?
Well, one is the cost of heat. There's nothing wrong with rinsing with hot water. What most people do, or what Mike's pointing out, is the fact that he got a hot water unit. He's running around $50 an hour. As a general rule, we'll get people to add a cold water unit to their pressure washer. It'll increase their production about 50%. So for less than a $2,000 investment and a minimum wage labor person, you've added $20 to $30 an hour to your production. Now you tell me that's not profitable. You know, you can make that pay for itself real fast. For $30 an hour, you can put a $4 or $5 an hour guy to work 8 hours a day, or as many hours as you're working, plus less than $2,000 worth of equipment. You've already got your pickup or your van or your truck. That's a good growth position. What he went through is a real good growth position, from cold water to hot water with a cold water wrench, and then 2 hot water units. You know, tell them about the difference in speed between hot and cold water.
Oh, it almost cut my time in half.
Rinse with down with
No,
cold.
if I wash with cold water,
No,
and the brush.
rinsing.
Rinsing with hot water?
I'm going with you on the hot water wash.
Okay, with rinsing, rinsing with hot or cold water, I can't tell much difference other than if it dries on there, sometimes you might want to use hot water to help cut the soap better.
Now, you said something was saving half the amount of time?
The hot water did. Hot water cut the amount of time I spent washing something.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's right.
Because he started out with
Yeah, with cold.
Yeah.
I think that's what kind of throwed us in that.
Okay.
He started out and went to it and come back.
Go over that scenario one more time. They'll be used to it. We've heard some
I think you kind of, when you
I'll
talking about economy and that and making money, where you had the hot water wash and the cold water wash, now you're going back to the 2 hot water washes.
Right.
I think that's kind of.
Why don't you just
I
start
think
over and go through the full-
I was with you,
All
but I
right.
think you wrote it.
He started out working in the shop, you know, and Stan supervised him, and the guy before that was Mike Ragland. And I don't know, I guess he's about 11 or 12 years old. He built a complete mobile power washer. He understands supervision, and I was wondering if the customer was going to complain because he had such a young kid putting a complete unit together. You know, he spent about $15,000 with us. When he got through, he brought in a .22 rifle and gave it to Michael, and bragged on the good job that he'd done. But Michael essentially built that whole truck by himself. And then he says that I give him that Durablaster on the condition that he did so much business so quick. I forget what the figure was, but they meant that. So that's the only piece of equipment that he's been given. Everything else he's paid for. But anyway, retell the story in your words.
I mean, go back to.
You want me to go back through it?
No.
Okay.
Go back basically from you start out with cold water.
Right, start out with cold
All
water.
right, now we understand, I think, why you went to a hot water wash,
Okay.
because it does a better job and quicker.
Right,
Then you went to a cold water
Well,
rinse.
jump back, yeah.
okay. Well,
All
what I
right,
was,
take off of your cold water
okay,
rinse.
all right. I start out with this unit here,
Uh-huh.
okay? I bought another unit with hot water. I put it on a trailer. I washed with it for a while, and then I took this unit I started out with and added it to the trailer. So then I had two guns. One was hot water, one was cold, but this has a pressure of approximately 1,200 PSI, I would say. And that's what I rinsed with, okay? And I decided to change that cold water unit into a more powerful, more pressure from a unit. And so I took it off and put the bigger unit on there. I was still using hot and cold, but I was washing with both of them at the same time. You understand what I'm saying now? Okay.
Yeah.
Now he's got two guns, now you
Right,
got two guns working
one's
off the
hot,
same
one's
thing.
cold.
Right.
Right.
How are you keeping up with those? Did you find a hard time keeping up with water, your water?
No, with both of them together, I run around approximately 10 gallons a minute. Some jobs, sites would only put out maybe 8 or 9 gallons a minute, but it was nothing, they weren't big jobs or something I had to
Do
take.
you have a makeup tank on it, or on your trailer?
I have a 500 gallon tank.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Can you just take like a machine that's putting out 3,000 PSI and hook two guns to it? That means 1,500 pounds per each gun's coming out, and roughly about 150, no, say about 100 pounds of heat is coming out of each gun.
When you hook two guns up to a single unit, the pressure can stay approximately the same, but it'll cut your gallons a minute in half. And under most conditions, we don't consider that it's economically profitable to run a unit that delivers less than 4 gallons a minute. So it means your total production needs to be around 8 gallons a minute. So 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 gallon a minute a unit, under normal situations, it's not profitable to make two guns out of that unit.
How do you do that? You buy a bigger pump.
Yeah, you have to have a bigger
No, I'm
pump.
saying you might just get a bigger pump. Now, say for instance, like you only got your 3/8 hose, you know how your plumbing is only
Yeah.
3/8. Can you up that plumbing and with a bigger pump and make up for a lot more?
When you put in a
or-
bigger pump, most of the units are what I call matched units on the market. If it's got 18 horsepower in the engine on it, 5 at 3,000, you can't take the gallons a minute up to 8 gallons a minute
with that little motor.
without lowering the pressure. Now, we have a unit like that we call, I forget the particular number of it, but it's 9 gallons a minute, 1,500 PSI, 18 horsepower motor. That's all the power you have. So you're limited mostly to guys like a truck washing unit. That's an option Mike could have took, but he didn't have enough heater for it, so he just added another heater. You know, he might have went that direction, but in his growth, it didn't fit in that way.
So for me to do that, I got to go with a bigger pump then.
Yeah, you'd have to change your pump and lower your pressure. You only do about 15 gallons a minute on the you only do about 1,500 PSI on an 18 horsepower motor if you're going to pull two guns.
Okay.
If you want to pull 3,000 PSI, you got to go to a 30 horsepower motor to do it.
Yeah, well then I can just change over to one gun then.
Yeah.
Just regulate the thing. Right?
What do you mean change over?
No.
You're already on one gun.
Okay. Now say from a bigger pump to two guns.
Yes.
All right. Now, if I wanted my pressure back up, can I just shut one?
No, that won't
Okay,
work.
see then.
That won't work.
All right. So either you go one route or the other.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. They don't make a pump that'll do what you're asking for it to do.
Yeah.
You know, you're asking to put out 8 gallons a minute and then 4 gallons a minute.
Yeah, well, I'm
the
saying-
pumps either put out 8 or 4. You won't go from one to the other.
Let me look on that with somebody here. I didn't know there was going to be this many people in the class today. Basically what this is it's just a breakdown of equipment, the washing, how to get your speed up, acidizing, different things. Just a basic brief overview of the techniques and washing as far as truck washing goes. First of all, you need equipment that has 1,500 PSI and up, a volume of 4 gallons a minute or more, as Dad said earlier. When you go out to wash a truck, you need to set your soap adjustment depending on if you got cold water or hot water. If you got hot water, you can turn your soap down. If you got cold water, you need to turn it up about whatever tint the soap is to where if you say you're washing a white truck or something, to where you can see that tint. That's when you're washing it. And I'll explain something else earlier with hot water. And then you go through, and what I usually do is I pre-soak whatever piece of equipment I'm washing. If I'm just washing the side, or if I'm going to wash the whole tractor, when I say side, I mean trailer, I pre-soak that side, and I go back and start over again. I usually pre-soak it from the top to the bottom. Some people do it from the bottom to the top. The advantage of doing it from the bottom to the top is that it may avoid some streaks in the paint, depending on the age of the paint. And just after you pre-soak, you go back and wash it. Usually you need to use some kind of pattern. Say for instance on a trailer, you got panels on it. And usually I wash 2 panels at a time, and I overlap my pattern. I overlap, say this is my spray pattern right here. I go back and forth like this across it, and I overlap the outside of the panels, and I overlap the panel as I'm coming down. And I hit it across, and when I come down, I hit it across again. I don't ever wash something twice. Just that's for speed. And then when it comes to acidizing, you do the first thing, you wash one, because you got to get all the grease and dirt and everything else off, because if you put acid on it, it's not going to go through, it don't cut through grease or dirt. So you've got to wash it first and get it free of all the obstacles and stuff that may be on it. And you apply the acid on it from the bottom to the top. And the way you do this is usually you get some type of a rollover valve, something with low pressure, and you suck it in through a DEMA valve, or Dad's got different names for them. That's one I'm familiar with. And what it is,
It's right here.
okay, it's something like this. This isn't one, but it has a valve in it. This wouldn't connect to the same spot, but you put it in on the outtake side of the pump. What it does is it lowers the pressure enough that this creates a jet here to suck up the acid. And all it does is that acid, whatever it goes to, it's going to eat it up over a period of time. And here's the valve I'm talking about for low pressure. What it does, it'll suck that up where it'll go through your hose and just your gun. And you apply that on there from the bottom to the top. I believe you let it set on there approximately 30 seconds to a minute. And you come back over and wash it off with hot or cold water, depending on what you're using. And you always want to apply it from the bottom to the top, because if you apply acid from top to bottom, you for sure are going to get streaks in it. It'll streak the aluminum.
When you apply from the bottom?
No, when you apply it from the top down. Did I say bottom up?
No, I just got
Okay.
confused.
No, if you apply it from the top down, that's what will happen. It'll streak the aluminum. And here are things on the speed, which are some I previously mentioned, is a pre-soak. Say for instance, I was doing a dump truck. Dump trucks usually want the bottom of the bed cleaned. And usually you're going to get cakes of mud underneath there, around the wheel wells, up underneath it. And when I first went into business, this is something I did. I went in and I just washed on that until I got it all clean. And I started thinking, well, how come these other guys can charge $20 and I charge $20 and it takes me an hour to do it? I can't make money at that. So what I started doing was thinking about how I could speed this up. What I did was I applied soap and water underneath the truck, let it set, and I washed the rest of the truck. And as I washed the truck, I would keep coming back and pre-soaking it. And each time I did that, a little more would come off. And I could get my time down on, say, a dump truck in 20 minutes where I was compatible, could compete. Another thing you need to watch if you're washing a fleet of trucks. Say, for instance, they're all lined up in a row, and you're going in between these trucks and with your one and stuff. You don't want to run in between one, hit the back, and wash the next one to it. You need to pay attention to where you're at when you're washing the trucks and where your hoses is at. Usually what you want to do, you will want to hit one on both sides, go right down in between them, come around, hit them both on the way back out, and pick up your hose, walk down, and get the next one. You don't want to go in there and typically people will do what I mentioned previously, and that's wash one and cut around and cut through these, and then finally they run out of hose and they're wondering what's going on, and that slows them down. And what you need to do when you're going in between them, depending on how they're lined up, is try to clean everything you can when you're standing in one position. You don't want to be turning around, turning this way, You want to continue in a forward motion when you're washing the trucks and hit everything you can. Say both sides. Say you got them sit on both sides of it. Hit this on this side, hit this on this side, take a couple steps forward, hit the next spot. Going down to the back, hit the back up, turn around, do the same thing coming out. And pay attention to the spots you missed. And then, obviously, you need to keep your machine in, I usually keep mine in peak performance. I keep the pressure up, I keep it, the heater in good condition. I use kerosene only, I don't use any diesel fuel because that's downtime. Eventually the diesel fuel is going to sit up my coils and I'm going to take them down and clean them up. And basically that's a brief overview. Any questions on that? Did I go through it too quick for anybody or?
No.
Okay.
I do have a question. How do you clean those coils?
Coils. To clean the coils, what you do, either depends on what you're talking about. You're talking about
For
sitting
the
up?
diesel? Yeah,
The
no,
diesel?
for the diesel.
Okay.
This coil's getting really black, you know, just.
Right.
burn
So
up.
you just have to take those out, and when you do, you're going to have to put new insulation back on them. Yeah, usually, if you can, if you got another hot water gun, clean them up with hot water. It's just like you're washing a truck or anything else, just clean it up that way. It comes right off, it's no big deal. It's the big deal is the downtime and your expense to do
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Okay, I got some information here on going out and giving proposals to people just on how to get jobs. Usually all my business comes from cold calling. I'll put ads in the telephone book, put out door hangers, but my most productive leads and stuff have been from just going out and cold calling and looking at what I would think would be a prospective buyer, customer, and this is how I generate my business. I would say 98% of it comes from that. What I do is, specifically in truck washing, is to go out on the weekends when the trucks are in on the lots, because this is when they're going to want you to wash them. And write down the names, street address, phone numbers if possible, if they're advertised at the place of business. And call them back during the week. The best thing to do is not to, phone number's good to have, but the best thing to do is to see someone in person when you're trying to get work.
Oh, is this a work order type thing, or?
That right there is proposal. That's a bid I gave 7 up.
For how many units?
Let me take a look at it. There was approximately 12 trailers. This is this is what I consider to be my low bid. I wouldn't go any lower than these prices here on anybody. Road tractors, I think they had about 10 of those. Bobtails, they had quite a few bobtails. I'd say around 20 bobtails altogether. And it was once a month. They stayed on the street. They didn't get out in any gravel roads, and they get real dirty. So that's consideration in pricing. Pricing, when I give someone a price, I want a price. There's usually 3 things I'm interested in. I'm interested in how often they get them washed, what kind of wash job they want, and how dirty they're going to get. And usually this is what I ask them, you know, when I go out. Before I get into that, first thing I want to do is get in to see somebody. That can be the hardest part, to get into somebody. I've walked into places, you go through the front door, now you can have a receptionist there, and her job is to keep you out of their hair.
Toughest part about it.
Right. So what I've learned to do is, this is usually easy, and people are very receptive and helpful if you walk in the back door. Just go in the back door and say, hey, I'm here, interested in washing y'all's trucks. Do you have anybody doing that? And who could I speak to? And usually,
Excuse me,
Go ahead.
don't walk in from the front door, what
No.
you're saying.
Right.
Just kind of mosey on through the back.
Right. Whether it says employees only or no trespassing, you just walk right in there. People do it all the time. And if they get mad, what can they do? They just tell you to get out.
Yeah.
And then you go through the front door.
That's the best way I found too.
Right.
My toughest thing was getting by the secretary.
Yeah.
And I'd always sit in the waiting room, and then by the time the guy came out to see you, there were 3 other people waiting there to speak to him at the same time, and he didn't want to deal with you.
Right.
If his lawyer was sitting there and his accountant were sitting there, he wasn't interested in having his truck
Yeah.
washed. He said, call me back.
Yeah.
But when I went through the back door, I speak to the guys in the warehouse, hey, you know, what's going on? Anybody washing trucks right now?
Right.
No, we don't have them. They have us out there washing them.
You
Well,
can
shit,
get,
who takes care of that? They
Yeah.
give you the name and you got it.
right on, you can get all kinds of information. So they do have someone, ask them what kind of job they're doing,
Yeah.
how often they do it. You can get an amazing source of information from
Yeah,
these people.
from the employee guys.
Right.
Because you're taking his job, right away. You don't want to do that filthy job. I know in California, they sabotage it. The workers will sabotage it, especially like a big trucking outfit, in order not to work. Because this $4 an hour guy is getting $4 an hour, and he's doing this filthy rotten work, or he could be out sweeping the front lot, really messing around. Well, he don't want to get sopping wet and get up on top and slip.
Right.
You don't want that, so they're automatically sabotaging the machines. That's what a couple guys told me. That's what they're doing in my area. So they break them, so it's down for a week until they get parts or something.
Right.
Or break this plunger, do something to it where let's call the man, and the man won't be out till 2-3 days. And here he is kicking back, automatically broken. They said, hey, it just broke.
Yeah, just like what you're saying here, a lot of the people who are working on those are the lowest guy on the ladder.
Exactly.
He doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want to do it, so he's going to destroy it. And usually, the job he does isn't very good. He doesn't know how to wash. He's not trained in that area. And anybody
It's
thinks-
not his, it is his job, but at the same time, it's your living.
Right,
And if that truck's not clean, it reflects on the job you do. For
right,
him, he works for, say, Board and Ice Cream. He's not Joe Truck Washer,
Uh-uh.
so he could care less.
Yeah.
Right.
He's just a handyman around the shop.
yeah.
You might have asked you, what is the purpose of a tax ID number?
Tax ID,
You need
okay.
them for businesses.
Right.
For here in Texas.
Paid.
Well, I assume that it's the U.S.
Nationwide.
IRS.
Labor's tax, you don't have to tax labor.
No, you
So-
don't have to tax your
Social
service.
Security, all you can use is your social security number is what you can use.
Okay, this tax ID number here is for, say, Yellow Freight. I watch them, I do $13,000, for instance, $13,000 worth of business. They have to report that to the IRS and have to have my social security number or tax ID number. And as far as
Where'd you apply for this tax ID number, from the state?
through my accountant, I don't remember how I got the stuff. It's been a while.
That's
It's
a
been 4
state,
years.
that's a state.
I always thought anytime.
No, this is a federal ID number. This is a federal ID number.
Okay, I always thought that a tax identification number was for sales tax, charge sales tax.
Okay, I have a sales tax number for the state
A
of
permit,
Texas too.
buy, sell,
Right.
permit chemicals, yeah.
My
Do you
sales.
charge tax when you go do a job?
The only thing I charge tax on is anything other than washing the truck. The truck pays road tax, so I don't have to charge tax on that. If I do a bank drive-through, I wash the building, or anything, heavy equipment, I have to charge tax on that.
The only one that needs to listen to that, Steve. Don't apply to anybody else, that's
Yeah,
Texas
This
tax.
is Texas
Yeah, that's
only.
a-
That's
that's
Texas
yeah.
law. I mean, the part about his tax number, in this time of year, it's real heavy within business, the way the IRS is set up right now. If you write a check, I think it's within over $600 to any person, you either have a social security number or a federal tax ID number. And if you're not doing it, your accountant is, and that law, I think, has been in effect like 2
Right.
years now.
I have to have
Maybe
my
3
accountant
years.
got it.
Bill.
So if you haven't been doing it personally in your other business, your accountant's taking care of it for you, or your secretary was doing it.
Well, I had a-
Somebody was doing it within your
I had an ID number
organization.
in it, plus a sales tax number.
I know, but I'm saying that federal ID number's been sent out by somebody within your organization. If you wasn't doing it, you just wasn't aware that it was being done.
Yeah.
I'll guarantee you it
Yeah.
was being done.
Sole proprietors are the ones that only, if you
Then
don't
you
have
have to give out your social security number.
Yeah, right.
anything but.
So this is
tax
what I wanna
ID
know.
number.
If you go do a bank job, or you go wash a dump truck,
Uh-huh,
or whatever you might be washing,
Uh-huh.
you don't charge sales tax, do you?
In the state of Texas, you
Texas, but not
do.
other states. This is unique.
This is-
You're talking about Texas law,
Uh,
not Colorado
You
law.
mean if the job costs $100 and the sales tax is whatever, $7, you put the $100 down, sales tax $7, right?
yes, I
Yes.
do. Yes, that's
No,
how.
we
I do
don't
it.
have to do that.
Well, I don't know about
California.
I don't know about the other states,
No.
but that's the way it is in Texas.
Labor is non-taxable in Colorado.
It
Okay.
used to be not here, it went into effect about a year ago, I believe.
Okay.
Because when I got my fictitious.
January '88, you know, Texas didn't have any new taxes. January '88, they just taxed more items. That's the way the federal government's gonna be. Taxes ain't going up, they're just gonna tax more stuff at the same rate.
California, if you sell your service, you
Do
do
away
not
with,
need a
User's tax.
Write-offs.
User's fee.
Okay.
But the only thing you need to worry about is that federal number, you'll have to provide it
Yeah, I
to people.
understand.
What I was gonna say is something else that my accountant told me on my tax ID number here, is that on employees, the IRS, the only thing they'll accept for contract labor, this is what he's told me, is anyone who you don't have control of their hours. See, I go out and wash on the weekends, I have control of their hours, I need to take tax. I need to take social security and income tax out of their paycheck. And the only employee I have working for me now that I don't do that to is my sister, and that's because she does my books at her time, whenever, on Monday. And that's it, so,
You can get away with that, but
yeah.
they told me on anybody that's under your supervision, so whether they're working or whether they're sitting on their butt, if they're under your supervision so many hours in a week,
Uh-huh.
it's no longer contract labor. They're your employee.
Yeah, I think it was about a year ago, he told me they started cracking
Yeah,
down.
they're auditing people to do that now.
But if you can get by with it, get by with it.
We did it for a while, but we terminated the practice too about 4 years ago.
Contract.
Again, on the advice of our CPAs that quit doing that.
Contract labor.
Yeah.
They told me when I first
Yeah,
got
I
reading all these
think
permits, she says, don't start. She says, you got so much paperwork and your name is in that computer. She said, if you can get away with it, you do it. Because once you start making big bucks, you're gonna have to report, and you're gonna have to get in there, and then they got you.
Yeah, but you know what'll happen?
But I'm gonna be playing
This happened to
taxes.
a guy that went and ran a grain elevator up the street from me. This guy didn't want him, he didn't want him to, he wanted nothing took out, you know, okay, they're good friends. Well, he worked there about 2 years and he got worthless, so he canned him. So you know what he done with him?
Went to
Turned him
labor
into the
board.
IRS.
Yeah.
I would go to the CPA over that.
Certainly would.
Yeah, get CPA help on your
Yeah,
taxes.
that's
We're not trying to give a
So every
seminar.
state's different.
Yeah, I understand, okay.
Okay, you want to give, I'll give you some prices on what I charge here on these list of references on Dower Hill, Ray Bagley, West Vogel, and Billy Howe. If you want those. This Dower Trucking here, was, when I first started, that was one of my first big accounts. Right here it says they got 45 trailers. They're fixing to get another 50 trailers, so they're going to have about 95 trailers altogether. And that road tractors, 28 is approximately right, it's about the same. What I charge on them on a weekly basis is $8.50 a tractor and $15 on a trailer. And occasionally I have to brush the trailers. The smooth sided trailers, probably the hardest one to clean.
$8.50 a trailer?
No, $8.50 a road tractor and $15 a trailer.
This is just whenever they want him.
I go out on the weekends and I decide what needs to be washed.
Okay.
He puts me in that position, and
You
it,
trust that.
right, and I've been forewarned that if I do anything that doesn't need to be done, I'm out of there. So it's up to me to decide whether they need to be cleaned or not, and if the fleet's clean enough. And I wash, everything's not there on the weekends, usually all the tractors are, but not the trailers.
Okay, so you're just giving a quick soap job, rinse, that's it. And then the trailer's doing it right.
No aluminum bright, I don't use aluminum bright, I hardly use it at all.
Oh,
The only
yeah,
thing I
they
use
come out
aluminum
nice?
brighter on. Huh?
They came out clean and nice?
Yeah.
Well,
Sometimes
wasn't
after
Mike
lunch-
using aluminum bright and all this?
What I tell you about transferring information from one to the next? You're gonna hear more than one way. You don't use it.
Right, I don't use it. That's,
Hey, the first one is used to brush.
yeah, I use brush.
But it comes out just as nice and everything?
I think so.
How much?
The only thing that probably won't come out just as clean as nice as aluminum on it. And with age, it doesn't. Now, in his situation, it's just, I don't know if he has 1 or 2 employees or if it's just him by himself, I'm not sure. In his situation, he's the only one doing it, and he doesn't have to worry about messing up anything because he's there to watch it, he's on top of it at all times.
Sure, but then he said labor's cheaper. I mean, chemicals cheaper than labor.
Chemicals cheaper, right. If you've got laborers working for you, you're putting on aluminum brightener.
And it dries.
You run a higher risk of tearing up someone's property or letting the paint eat off the trailer, getting aluminum streaked. You can run into a lot more risks.
What kind of chemicals are you using then?
I'm using Delco Red and DMB 1430.
Okay, he said about 1430.
What, the DMB 1430, what is that?
Okay, it's just an all-purpose soap, just like
Oh,
the-
just like,
yeah.
And there's a big red
The
coming
thing I
off.
found that works best on is concrete. That's where I like it the best.
You mean,
You're doing both flat and trucks?
Yeah, I don't do a lot of flat work. I'll probably be doing some more here in the future. But right now I do mostly trucks.
which one works better on concrete?
The D&B 1430 by far.
That's a liquid form or powder form?
Liquid.
It's a mixed kit.
Right.
When you buy it, you buy it in a mixed kit.
Okay, that's why I put it in a 55 gallon and
Right.
mix it myself.
Uh-huh.
And then when I mix it myself, do I dilute it again after it comes out?
Yes,
Okay, so there's two processes of dilution. When I put
Yeah.
it in the water and then it comes out.
yes.
Okay.
Okay, and yellow freight here. Here's an example. This is a prime example of using the selling technique and how you can get your price down lower by just talking with the customer. On him, I got him back in February of '86, and when I went in there, it was a union job. They didn't want anybody on the line. It took me 4 months to get this job. I called the guy every Friday for 4 months to find out if he wanted anybody in there. The problem was he kept getting asked to union. Finally, he asked me competitive enough, and he wanted someone to come in there, that he got me to come in. And then it was the object of price. I came in there, I bid them at $6 a truck because these are the small. These aren't the big road tractors. These are city tractors. Just one axle, small cab.
Bobtail.
No bobtail. I'm not
Cab.
sure. People use different terms for
Well,
bobtail.
bobtail's a single axle, mid-size 2.5 ton
Fixed
truck.
wheel without anything on it.
It's just
Usually what you
it's
call
just a
bobtail.
tractor, is what it's
Okay.
talking about.
But when I talk about a bobtail, I talk about a cab with a half section trailer on the back.
Flat.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
there's
Right, that's why
yeah.
I wanted to
That's
define what you meant. Okay, and well, this is a city tractor, which is what they term them. That's what I call them. And all he wanted done was the outside of the truck and the wheels. Don't touch the exterior of the fifth wheel. No knock any grease off it. They are automatic greases. They didn't want any of that done. And to do them once a month. These trucks stay on the road. They never go on any dirty surface. They hardly get dirty at all. I charge $5.50 a tractor on these. And last weekend when I went out there and did them, I made $80 a gun on them. It took me 2 hours to make, I think it was $350.
Do how many trucks?
I did 51, I believe,
Oh, yeah,
in 2 hours. One running 2 wash guns
at 1,500.
at 2,000 PSI, 5 gallons a minute.
Oh, you mean you run a 2,000 on
Yeah,
each
I'm running
gun?
2,000.
You didn't use any brushes on those at all?
Occasionally I use brushes. The only place I ever have to use brushes on those is where the latches, where the hood go down, it's got the conventional cab on it. The latch is there, and sometimes on the back. But I brushed them the last time I was out there, and I haven't brushed them in about, I would say, 18 months was the last time I brushed them. So I don't brush them very often at all.
What do you use for a brush and your technique for brushing? You just put the brush in the soap and then brush it, or?
No, I usually pre-soak it first and then brush it.
Just
And
Brush the
what I
soap.
do is I have a helper with me, and I guess I should go into washing technique in a little more detail there. When I brush something, I soak it down, and I have a helper there who's going to brush it for me. Or depending on the amount of time, on how fast I get it done, I'll help him brush it too. But while he's brushing, I'm getting undercarriage or something else that needs to be brushed. When I finish that, then I go up there and I help him. And either he'll rinse it, or we'll come back and rinse it, depending on the situation I'm at on the different jobs. I use different techniques at different jobs. I wouldn't lock myself in the same technique because different things are going to apply for different jobs. Say, for instance, at one job, all I got is trailers and I wash them, and the one guy's right behind me rinsing. Or this is what I'll be doing when I get my cold water gun under heat, is that we'll both be washing, and when we get through washing, then we'll both go back and rinse. That's how we do it.
You're not gonna rinse with cold water no more.
I can rinse, all I have to do is turn off the burner,
Yeah.
and I can rinse with cold water. It depends. If it's a trailer, then I'm going to rinse with cold water. If it's a tractor, then I'll probably turn on the heat so I can make sure to get all the soap off the windshield. And another thing is on the windshields is sometimes, if you notice where the windshield wiper's going back and forth, it'll be real clean. And around it, after it dries, you're going to have this dirt film around it. It's easy to solve. All you got to do is brush the windshield. It comes right off. It looks good. It looks like you got up there and spent your time on it.
What do you mean, before you rinse it, you just brush it?
No, any time in the wash process before it's rinsed, yeah, as long as it's wet when you brush it.
With soap or without soap?
I do it with soap. The brush usually moves, it makes the surface slicker and it's easier to move the brush back and forth across it.
Just use a 5-gallon bucket, stick your whole brush in.
You can do that, or I don't even use buckets like I used to, since I've got the 2 guns. Usually I just pre-soak it, and I just pay attention to where that brusher is. No matter what I'm doing, in my mind, I know what he's doing at all times. I'm watching him, regardless of what it looks like I'm doing. I'm watching everybody on the job site.
How big is your soap tank?
I got a 30-gallon soap tank.
Is that about the average size to have?
I believe.
What's the equal size to have, Robert? 55, a 30, a 25?
I use 55s, Mike uses 30, most people use 5s are probably the most popular. Comes down to personal preference.
In my opinion, the bigger your soap tank, the better off you are, because you don't have to mix up soap that often.
And
And,
then it'll
and the
hold.
stronger you can mix it, the stronger you mix it, the strongest it'll go. And then meter it down with the soap valve to what you need
And
to
then if you
do.
don't use it tomorrow, you can use it next week.
Right, then you're not running back and doing it. What was your question?
And then if I only use half of it today, I can use that the other half next week.
Right. It's just there in your
Okay.
soap tank. There's
Can't
no-
do that when it's freezing though. Have to mix you up a little bit.
That's right, if your trailer's gonna be outside where it freezes,
Yeah.
that's not possible. Mike
I'm
parks
not
his
in
trailer in the garage
Yeah.
at night.
Huh.
He parks his trailer inside a building at night, so it doesn't freeze, with a kerosene heater beside it.
Yeah.
Are you applying the soap under pressure or over?
Yes. I apply soap under pressure at all times.
Do you find that's better than second?
Yes. You mean using this?
Yes, second method?
Yes. The only time I would not do that is when I was applying acid. And that would be the only reason.
Under pressure, to use it under pressure, it's got to go through one of the valves.
Uh,
Valve that you have to use to keep that the soap coming under
The
pressure.
only thing you have to do to get your soap to be pulled into your
Pressure system.
pump, right, is use to create some type of vacuum on it. Dad's got different types of kits.
I
in
know,
there,
because
different
I know
things.
when you release the all the way loose, cut the vacuum, your pressure back,
Uh-huh.
then automatically your soaps and stuff.
That's
come out.
low pressure soap injection. That's the same thing that Mike Norrell was doing with that rollover valve, it's just another
Yeah.
way to do it.
When he was applying acid, right?
Yeah.
When he was using acid, yeah. So that's the only thing I would use acid on. When I use soap, I use it under high pressure.
Now, there's that kind of rollover valve, and then there's a kind you move, right?
Right.
They're all the same.
Which one is better, consistent, and easier?
I haven't worked with one enough to say. This is the
Indeed.
I've used them both, but I haven't used them enough to one was wore out.
Which one's easier to work with?
That one would be the easiest to work with.
That's the easiest and most reliable.
If you're using all that.
Pick it up and show it to us down there.
Yeah, I seen it, but that's the
Yeah.
rollover.
That's the easiest
Right.
and most reliable
What
valve.
you do to get this is knock it down this way. It's got a little lever in here that just falls down. I guess it falls down one way or another. I'm not sure how it does. But anyway, it just blocks off this one. You turn it over, blocks off this one.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You
that's
got
what
high
I'm
pressure
saying.
and low pressure. Just goes back and forth, and all you do is you just whip your
And
gun
you
like
still got the
this.
high pressure going to it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Still the high pressure, what I'm saying is without going back and messing around, you still got your high pressure coming to the soap. Then you flip it over, and you still got your high pressure going out water.
No, you have low pressure soap, high
Yeah.
pressure rings.
When you flip it over, that's the purpose of this right here. What you're doing is you're knocking down your pressure enough so that this thing right here,
Just putting out.
when you
yeah.
got pressure on your gun, the water's backed up, right?
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
backing up. It's pressurized. Okay, when you put it under low pressure, it flows faster, and what it does, it creates a jet through your.
Yeah, I
that's
understand,
sucking in.
but didn't Mike say that he had one that was going at
No,
full pressure?
No, he did not. This nozzle here is a big nozzle.
Yeah.
On your machine, you have two wands, and when you open that deal up, it does the same thing as running your liquid through that nozzle.
Okay.
It's the same thing. We also have a rollover. I thought I saw a rollover valve. Here's the same thing. That's 3 ways to do the same thing. This only shoots out this direction. So with this brass nozzle, it's the same as having it in here. Don't make any difference where it is. It's the same thing with your gun where you turn the side handle. I don't have a side handle here. We got one at the
Are
shop.
those pretty good, the side handles?
Generally, they're not good for the mobile power washer business because you're with a fixed length wand. Now then, if you have this, you can put this on any length wand. It can be 2 inches or 12 feet. With your side handle gun, you're fixed at 40 inches or whatever length the pipe is.
Yeah,
This is, in the mobile power wash, this is a preferable method over what you have.
yeah.
Because
That's
you
what I
can
want to
change the
know,
length.
you know.
Because you see, that is a wand if that's got Teflon tape on it. So your shortest one you can work with would be that length right there. That would be your shortest nozzle. And if you were working inside a tractor area or gun or applying your soap with that, that would be an advantage over 40 inches.
Yeah, okay.
So that's just different ways to do the same thing.
Now, when you order them wands, they come pre-bent, or do you bend them yourself?
Normally we send them straight and let the customer bend them.
How do you know how far to bend them, about a foot or roughly? Because you said put a 7-degree angle or 7.
Put about a 14 degree at about 12 inches.
About 6.
Well, can you guys do it
You want
before you
something-
ship it out?
We could. Some people ask us to do them. I said, well, I put the Hinderliter bend in it, so I'll go bend it and ship it to them. You know, they want me to bend them, I'll bend them. But you can bend them too. Most people go out on the job site and rebend them.
Oh, well,
You know,
What the bend, the purpose of the bend is to take the weight off the wand.
yeah, that's
You
what
just
I
bend it 5 or 6
You
inches.
just bend it, all I do is I go out and I bend it, and I just keep bending it a little more until when I pull the trigger, it just sits straight up and down. I mean,
And that won't kink it or crease it or nothing.
Yeah, it'll bend it, but it won't hurt the wand.
it won't knock your pressure down or anything like that.
And then when this wand is wearing out, what kind of effect do you get?
There's no effect due to the bend.
Right.
But when the wand starts wearing out, like the movies are saying, after the wand lasts, metal one lasts twice as long as the aluminum.
I used a steel one for 3 years, it never went bad. I used aluminum one that lasted me probably an average of 4 months. And I use aluminum ones predominantly now because of their weight and the speed I can get out of one. That's another thing that increased my speed was aluminum wand. To me, after I went from a steel one to aluminum one, it's like using a fishing pole. It was so light, I couldn't believe it. And I could also, with the steel one, it's so rigid, you go like this, I could just shake that aluminum one a little, and it can hit a spot just like that, just like a fishing pole on the end.
Oh, that light?
Yeah, then that's how it felt to me. And I'm sure if you're using a steel one now, it's going to be the same to you. And I use a 6-foot wand. I hardly ever use any other size for washing trucks. Now, if I went to doing concrete, I'd probably drop down to about 3.5 foot, 4-foot wand. Yeah. But I do use a
Various sizes?
Yeah, we make them very slim.
But I do use a 6-foot one at the present time on a concrete job. I do because I only got one a month, so I don't mess with taking them on and
And
off.
then your 12-footers for trailers. What do they use?
I use a 6-foot on a trailer.
And what was the 12-footers for?
12 foot. The only time I use 12 foot, I used 12 foot on a trailer before, but I quit. It's just too much hassle.
Oh, it is?
It's
Yeah.
so long. And all I do with 6 foot is I hold it straight up like
You
this.
just 6 foot, and 6 foot's under, you can't go 12 foot 6
Yeah.
inches so you can reach the top of it.
12-foot wand is usually used for building cleaning.
Yeah, I've used it for that.
That's for the restoration, I see.
Tanks, tall tanks.
Yeah, tall tanks. Inside of metal buildings that are 15 feet up, 20 feet up. 6 foot with men. Your height can be reached 6 foot real easy, so you put 12 foot with it, so you got a 20 to 22 foot reach real easy for most people.
Figure a person can reach at least 8 feet, right?
Add 12 foot to it, you got
Yeah.
20 foot reach.
And let me get back to this Bagley waste disposal on here. That on the trash trucks, that's $10 a week. And on this Billy Howe,
$10 a truck you charge for trash truck?
right. And I'm just cleaning the exterior of the truck. Wheels, what frame is showing, nothing intensive, no engine or anything like that.
Do they take a lot of brushing?
No, I've never brushed it.
Is that about the going rate, roughly?
I would say
What'd
that's
you go
low.
with? Did you
That's
go with
low.
the big
That
old
is.
yellow
That's
freight?
low. That's once a week.
Oh, that's a low rate then.
That's a low rate. They don't get as dirty as most of the trash trucks do.
Okay.
That-
So you
in my
can, you can go anywhere from, say, 10 to 12, 14?
I would charge an average rate of 15 on a
Oh,
trash
say
truck.
15?
Yeah, if I was to bid another job.
Okay.
You can always back off the price a little. I'd always go high when I give a bid,
Oh, yeah.
because you can back off some. But I'd be aiming for 15 if I went in to bid somebody.
And that's without doing the inside.
Right. I don't do any detailing either. When you're talking about inside,
I mean
assume that's
inside
what
the
you
bed
mean.
of the trash truck.
No, you don't do it, she strictly
Inside
goes
the
outside.
compactor, yeah.
No.
Nobody ever washes inside the bed, do
You
they?
can't get-
Sure they do.
Well,
They
they
have to
get
sterilize them.
It gets pretty slippery and pretty dangerous, side of it.
I've cleaned the inside and back of a dump truck. I've never done the inside of a diesel. I mean, as far as a trailer, van trailer. I've
He was
never
talking
done
about one of
that.
the trash.
One of the old trash trucks.
I've never cleaned the inside of a trash truck.
I think they're too dangerous to do,
Uh,
where they're made compaction and everything.
I don't know. I've never been inside one,
I
so.
don't want to, remember.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna do, I put that one in the, I ain't.
And on Billy Howe here, that's $20 dump truck and $5 on the engine. On this company resume here, I give you the prices on these down here. If I can think about it, it's been so long. On the Midway construction job, I did a parking lot there for $800.
Was that a 32,000 square foot?
Parking lot and the tilt wall. The tilt wall was, I charged him 15 cents a square foot on the tilt wall.
Okay, now that's concrete.
That's the
That's
$800
concrete.
one.
All right,
No, that's
how-
not the $800, that's the parking
The
lot.
3,200 square foot, is that concrete or asphalt?
That's a concrete.
Well, I don't, you can't find it with concrete in my part of the country.
It's concrete, and I charged him 15. Now the parking lot was a brand new parking lot. It wasn't hard to clean, and
That was 800.
it was $800. By far, it was per square foot. It was a low price, but I still made money in it.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's how you have to judge some of your concrete jobs. You know, you don't have you don't have any experience on it. You just kind of guess how long it's going to take, and then try to put an hourly rate to it, and then give them that price.
What's the tilt wall?
Tilt wall is it's concrete with gravel put on top of it, and then they stand it up. And what it does, it gets a little film on the outside, and they want it cleaned. I charged him 15 cents a square foot on that, and I cleaned, I'm trying to think how many square feet I cleaned on it. But the important part is the fact that I charged him 15 cents a square foot on it.
That's a good rate. That's good money, isn't it?
Yeah, building restoration is good money. It's just hard to get it. It's one-time thing. It's not repeat.
I noticed from the movies, if I was going to do any of that, I'd do more of a brick type buildings instead of paint, because that paint's too much
Right.
headache. The gutters and the
Yeah.
plants and, I mean, it's a good business to get into.
Now,
but-
I'd still go out and check on the job if someone wants you to do it. Okay, say for instance, this Pierce Construction Company right here, that's what I did. I went out and I blasted red brick house that had white paint on it. It did not come off, it left it splotchy, and that was the effect he wanted. And I charged him, I believe it was $650 for the job, and it took me 2 days to do it.
So, I mean, you done 1,265 square feet for $650.
Yeah, $650. I'm pretty sure that's the price. It's been a long time since I've done it. Actually, it took me about a day and a half to do it. Which, now I can make,
12 hours.
and that was with one gun. One gun.
Let me ask you, the second gun, you hire a $5 man and go with you, is that right?
Depending on how good he is, he can make up to $7 an hour.
You know,
Now, he's washing, it's not just rinsing now.
I understand.
Presently, I only got one employee, I pay that, other wash people pay $650 an hour. And rinsers, anybody who's on a winch gun or rinse gun or brushing, all my brushes get $350 an hour, possibly $4. On this Eckerd Drugs, I did 17 storefronts. What I did was I cleaned the sidewalk, the wall in front, and the windows, and I charged him $60 a storefront to $125 a storefront. The majority of them were 60, and whenever it was bigger, whenever the storefront was usually an bigger than the one I bid on, I could go up. I usually went up to 90, and if I had drive time involved, it was off a long ways from where I'm based or ways drive, I charged $125.
Was it a tall wall? I mean,
No, it was no taller than this right here.
Oh, okay, so.
Did you have to squeeze in the windows or not?
No, I didn't. You can, but They were fairly clean, so there wasn't a bunch of stuff coming down off the ceiling or anything else.
No kinds of soaps or bother windows, then, except for aluminum bright.
All I did was rinse the windows. I didn't wash them. They thought I washed them, but I rinsed them. See, that's something else.
You kept the soap off of them.
Right.
Yeah.
And as far as they were concerned, I cleaned the windows, but all I did was rinse them.
Yeah, well, they don't.
And they were
do
gonna
that.
get dirty anyway.
You got paid for cleaning concrete, but they give them,
And cleaning the front of the building, but all I did was use rinse water. Hot
they
rinse
thought you
water.
washed
And
it.
they thought I washed
That's
it,
proper
right?
relation.
Yeah.
What product did you use in the cement?
When I did this job, if I was to do it now, I'd use DMB 1430. At the time, I'd use R202. It's another concrete cleaner.
And
But
Big
my
Red
opinion-
would work too?
Big Red's okay, it's not that good on concrete.
Okay, so.
Big Red's good for degreasing and truck washing. In comparison, I use DMB and Delco Red interchangeably on truck washing, but predominantly I use Delco Red
That's for degreasing
and truck washing, right?
Now,
And
the
concrete, what do you call that, 14 what?
DMB 1430.
DMB, Baker's Boy.
It's on page
Right.
11 of your, it's a
And
bottom
then
item.
Big Red is strictly for you.
Delco Red,
Delco Red for truck washing.
truck washing, huh?
Okay, and that's that stuff that's pretty expensive per gallon. I mean, is it the 1430?
It'll go a long ways.
Oh, it's diluted.
Well, when I use it on concrete, I suck it in its full strength.
Oh, at full, you don't
At
cut
full
it?
strength. And now wait, when I use it, I apply it and I pre-soak the whole thing, and then I turn off the soap, and I go back and I wash it off
With hot water.
with hot water. I had a bank. I was using R202, and I'd have to go out. First, I'd have to wet it down, take the R202 out, sprinkle it on, go back and wash it. It took me 2 hours to do the bank. I made $135 to do the bank. I went back. I added a rinse gun, or added pressure to my rinse gun. It cut me down to an hour and a half on this job. I use DMB 1430. It takes me an hour to do it now. It is so much faster. I put on a full strength, and you can, as soon as that hits you, you can see the black stuff just come right up off the concrete when it goes on at that strength. You can turn down the strength of it. It's going to take you longer, and it won't clean as good.
Well, it's a soap effect then.
Right.
Yes, it
It
is. The
heats.
first guy we had use it was a customer we had in Florida, and he was using another concrete cleaner, and he run out of it, so he used DMB 1430. Next day he called up and said, you know, this is better than the other stuff. He said, we never knew it was even any good for concrete. And since then, we've had a lot of people use it for concrete.
Oh, okay.
It's by
We
far
didn't
the
design
best
it.
thing I've ever used on concrete.
Is
We were surprised that
So,
it's that
Is
good.
that the kind you get in the
That's
fixed kit?
actually made for
It's a
tractor
mixed
trailer?
kit, yeah.
Mixed kit, so I can order the mixed
DMB?
kit. make
Yeah.
mixed
Yes, you
trailer.
can use it. You can use it on tractor trailers too.
It was made, it was designed for tractor trailer rigs. We were trying to get something that wasn't an acid that would do what acid would do.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what the objective was.
Just offer,
Go ahead.
ask a question right now, I've asked it. On the acid, on a trailer, a
Right.
45-foot trailer that's painted, decal all the way.
Right.
Would you use acid on that? I mean, it's no aluminum, it's the aluminum, but it's.
Mike
painted.
doesn't, he'll brush it. Mike
Come on.
Morrell would say yes.
It's a matter
So
of
you can take your choice.
I mean, it's painted white with decal.
Yeah, I know, I'm just telling you that some contractors
I
will
mean,
somewhat.
what risk, I mean, what risk do you run into with acid on it? I'm talking a liability.
When I did it with 2 guns, and I had the guy that was running the acid gun, I had the washer right behind him, so I told him I didn't want that acid on the trailer any longer than a half a second. When they did the tractor, I said the same thing. I didn't want that on them any longer than a half a second, so that meant it was a 2-man operation.
Okay.
I just barely wanted it to touch the surface before soapy water was behind it.
Okay. What's the difference in the appearance of the customer when he walks out and looks at one that's washed a little bit long with soap? I mean, it's not acid and one compared with acid.
As far as the customer goes,
Yeah, when he walks out and
he probably won't notice the difference.
but then you're not involved in much bigger
That's
risk
another reason you
with
don't
that
want to
acid.
do that.
That's right.
That's what I'm looking at.
I mean, you
There's
can't-
a liability in it.
You have less liability.
You got less liability with that acid. But if you got a solid aluminum trailer,
Go with aluminum bright.
then you go with your aluminum bright.
Yeah.
Now, you don't have to use aluminum brightener all the time.
Okay, now,
You can do it maybe once a year or once every
Yeah.
6 months.
now is aluminum brighter cheaper than 1430?
No, it's more expensive.
Okay, so you're better off going that route then, and it's safer.
1430 is just a different type of soap.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
soap, the other one's an acid.
They just take you longer with 1430. I mean,
That's
more
right.
minutes per trailer,
That's right.
But you're
Right.
safer.
but you're safe.
That's
So
right.
you want to reverse liability against time.
Yeah, that's right.
We're getting smart.
We're getting
That's
there.
right.
The way I get my time down is with more help, just keep on, just little things like I pointed out earlier.
Right.
And another thing is on that hot water, you can turn it up just as high as you use it on the cold water, as what I was describing a while ago, to use it at that strength.
Right here.
And you can go a lot faster. You can eliminate a lot of brushing.
What do you do when you wash your hands?
I took it.
They clean butter and hot water, so anything use hot water clean.
He would, yeah, he
Right.
took it.
Well, no, what I'm saying is the amount of soap. When I was saying a while
They
ago,
don't take as much soap for hot water as they do.
right, but I was saying you could turn your soap up
Yeah.
to where you can see it, the tint of the soap in it. When you put it on, say for instance, a white trailer, that's one you're gonna see it on. To where you can see that red tint in it. And when you do, you soak it down as fast as you can go, and most of the time when you come back to wash it, you can wash it as fast as you go. If you turn the soap down a certain amount, the pre-soap sometimes is not as strong, it's not as effective.
You don't have this, like we said this morning, it takes so many ounces per square foot, where you gotta mix 1 to 1 or 1 to 10.
Right.
So if it's, I mean, it's the soap, it's not the volume of the fluid, it's the amount of soap that's in it.
Yeah.
So the stronger you got it, less
Less time.
you got to spend with it.
And that's what I make the point.
What page is that on? How much it costs?
You just don't want to get it so strong that you do a damage job.
Never
anything,
had soap
acid,
so strong
anything,
that
you know, I know.
but acid would.
You know, say,
But I've never had soap. Another thing I want to point out is when, using that technique of 2 guns. Say for instance, I'm washing the side of this tractor here and I hit this mirror with acid from this side. Okay, some of this goes down and runs down the back. This guy rinses it from this side. This is still in the back here. It's going to be streaked.
I don't like that. I mean, it's, if it's a place you've got to have it, try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you?
That's the only time I use acid when it needs, when I have to use it.
I might use it on sour patches.
This is, I think, the best one.
Don't have to hand spray.
What acid do you use? Just a little bit?
Same
Aluminum brighter.
Same
I've used muriatic acid before on concrete,
Overall, which one
but
do you think would be
I use the
better?
DMV.
What's
Basically, you can't tell any difference. You might be able to tell a slight difference.
Are you gonna be?
And I've also heard, I've tried it, I've heard that Tide will bleach the concrete, but I haven't seen it done yet. I've used it, but I haven't seen it done. I've heard it, but I haven't seen it.
What, sir?
That Tide will bleach concrete, but I haven't seen it.
Okay, now that's,
Because
I heard of something that bleach does.
That's
See, who do you believe until it's done, you know, until it happens? See, it's, some guy over there told me that bleach dyes concrete. Now, the other 2 guys said that's baloney. And you said bleach, I mean, now you said Tide dyes it. Well,
I haven't seen it done. What
Well,
I'm
you
saying,
heard of it.
I've heard of it, but I haven't
Yeah.
seen it.
Well, you got to take into consideration now, atmosphere, climate, and all
Exactly.
got a different
Yeah.
thing working.
yeah.
What was that other? I gave y'all 3 a while ago.
Yeah.
One of them I didn't have.
Now,
Okay, it's got the price of the stuff, that 7-Up. Is there any questions on that 7-Up one?
now on this, like 7-Up bid, is this your bidding source of form?
Yes, that's what I got right now, yeah.
You just go to get these at any stationery store?
I believe that's where Dad gave it. to me.
Office supply store.
Office
have
supplies.
Okay, that's just a,
Standard form, any office supply will have it, there won't be an office supply.
okay, this
It
is
may
just,
not look like that exactly, but it'll have that stuff on there.
okay, for bidding, roughly.
Uh-huh.
Okay, it's like a contract then?
Yeah, it's a proposal, that's just a normal standard form.
Okay, so it'll work as a contract, as a,
Yes.
okay.
Here you go. I've got something, in case they want something like that, I got
Yeah,
something
but
right
what's
here.
something roughly, like if they want a bid or a contract or, a-
This is what I used before. I got that right there before I started
This looks a
using
little
that.
more professional.
yeah.
Yeah. Looks more professional than this even, but that's what I used before.
Yeah, it really makes a difference,
And
That
that's
goes
just
in
a
file,
breakdown.
that goes in file 13th and mail it to them this year, look at it, they think you owe you money.
Yeah, exactly.
You're just about right.
He tell me
Here,
he's gonna do
You
this
give
tomorrow.
them one of these, let's gift, say, hey, pay that bill. Looks sophisticated.
Yeah. Here's something, I usually get questions on
I
the
like to
insurance,
keep track of it.
so this is part of it now. I just
Now,
get a copy of my insurance.
you run off a copy of yours? Some people don't go for that.
What's
I've
that,
done it
my
for-
insurance?
Yeah, they want
He
to, like
wants-
he was saying,
You
send
can't
a
get an
form to
original
this
copy
guy.
for everybody. You have to run copies.
No, I understand, but
He-
there's certain big companies that want a copy.
Yeah, but if they want a certificate from the company, they'll just call them, they got the information.
Oh, okay. But this is for just any Joe Blow that wants something to okay it then. If you go to a gas station, Joe Blow says, well, let me see your insurance, so you just give them a copy
Yeah, I
of
just
this.
give a copy of that
Yeah,
right there,
okay.
yeah.
That's good enough.
Right.
All right.
And some people want to be listed on your insurance policy. Say, for instance, some of the big companies I do, like Yellow Freight, that's one of them. They want to be listed on there. It's not on that policy there. When I first got the job, like in '86, shoot, I guess I was just a year out of high school, and I was pretty young. And he wasn't confident in the work I did. I was afraid I was going to tear something up, so I had to be listed on the insurance policy, and I had to get my. That's the first time I had to have insurance. I've been in January. I've been in, 13 months in business before I had to have insurance, before someone ever questioned me.
Michael, this is your premium right here.
Yes, it is.
I read asked you,
It's not too bad.
how many insurance were legal, and mine was a little bit, probably much more than that, for what they wanted. I talked to them about
Uh,
it, so I might call you a company out here in Texas.
I'd give him a call. He, the independent guy that does me right there, Raymond West, he's insured quite a few people through me.
Raymond's name on him?
Outside of Texas or just? in-
I don't think you can go outside of Texas.
Oh, well, I can't.
And I'm
And
not-
that's all they charge is $680?
Yeah,
That's not bad at all.
as Dad's explained before in the class, that the insurance companies, this is not a well-known industry, and all they're just taking a risk. They're
Yeah.
not sure what kind of prices to charge. My rates used to be higher at lower coverage, but since I have no claims, and it's gone down to this. I think it used to be 8 something, and now it's 680. I've had it since I had Yellow Freight, which would have been February of '86.
See, when I go to Mobile and Shell, that's gonna be the first thing they ask you. I
Yeah.
guarantee it.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. They'll ask you if you got insurance. Now, what I recommend, and what works most, it's, in fact, I've never known of a failure, but I tell everybody you gotta get 10 bids. Just, might as well just forget it, you're gonna get 10 bids. And your prices are gonna probably range from $800 to $16,000. So you just might as well expect that to start out with. So, you know, if you're paying $1,600, you only got 2 bids, your first mistake was you didn't get 10. You just might as well figure that's the way you're gonna.
You come back bid on the insurance.
Yeah, you might as well
Copy
figure
of
you're gonna
your
get 10
insurance, so that
bids.
they'll all be bidding the same. Just give them a copy of what you got.
You're not gonna be all the same in this industry, I guarantee you.
Yeah.
Because they don't know what to do about it.
Yeah, all right, everybody's got a guess. So you might as well.
Well,
go with
that's what I
guess
think,
as
see,
well.
when
Yeah.
I went to 2 different brokers down there, and both of them.
Yeah, you didn't go to enough, you went to 8 more, you
No, I
got.
mean, I have to, I was just see,
Right.
but the first 2 I went to, they come back, because they don't know anything about it.
Right.
And they were friends of mine and well enough to tell me, we've got to do this until we learn more about it.
Right.
Like you just said,
Yeah.
yours come.
In this business, that don't count no more.
Used
Get 10 bids,
used to be, you know, your insurance is no better than your agent.
Yeah, really.
in this
Right.
case.
Huh?
Yeah,
Well, it's,
that's
that's
still
like a
true, but
guarantee is no better than the
Still
man
true.
that sold your product.
what you're really using is for is catastrophic failure type insurance. Now, then when I had it, or when we did it, and we still do it, for small claims, we go ahead, even though we might have 0 deductible, you know, if you're gonna have your insurance company stay with you and premiums go down, if you have small claims, like $200 or $300, I
Pay the
recommend you
stinking
just
thing.
pay them
Yeah.
off.
That's
Yeah,
what
mine's got a
got.
$500 deductible on it.
500.
Mine is 500 and I pay 100 a month. That's still $1,200 a year. I pay the first 500.
Yeah.
But I think it's $500,000 and something else. You know, the reason why I went there is because I got my house insurance and everything insured there.
Right.
And I had a house burned down 2 years ago, so I know they're good. Except he's just an agent. It's not his problem that you don't get paid, or the problem is it's the guy he deals through. He's just your agent. He takes your money and he makes a commission off of that. It's
Right.
the other big jerks with the money in their pocket that don't want to cough up. See, those are the guys, so really,
That's a good price.
I've never had experience where I had to deal with them, so I couldn't say.
yeah, well, that's a good price. I mean, I wouldn't complain.
I was going to get back to selling technique. This has been jumping right around in this time. Now, the selling technique, when you go in and you get someone, you finally get in to talk to them. You've worked all your way through, you get in, you finally get, the time comes, you're going to see this guy. And like I said before, you want to find out how often he's going to do it. Okay? You may want to BS with him a little, try to pals the hours, you know, get pals with the guy so he likes you. Find out how often he wants them done, what he wants to get done. Some guys want everything on the truck done. They want the engine, they want the differential, they want the fifth wheel, they want the top of the fifth wheel done. They want the top of the tractor cleaned off, rinsed off. They don't want any soap streaks. They want the windows wiped off. They want them wiped dry. They want you to open up the cab of the truck and wipe off any water you get on the inside. And this is what you have to do. For each thing you do, you charge a little bit more.
Yeah.
And say, for instance, you're going to bid against somebody. Point out the things that you know you can do cheaply and not cost much, and charge. Say you charge a lot more. Well, this is your reason why you can charge more. You're going to make sure you get you're going to get the differential every week. Say they're not getting the differential every week. Well, you know the first time you go out there that differential is going to be held clean. But after that, it's just going to be a second. It's just like that. There's hardly anything on it. He doesn't know that, but you know that. And you're going to get all his grease zerks around every one of the air brakes on the back. The little, I forget what those things are called. You're going to get, yeah. And you clean off the outside edge of the fifth wheel. This is something I started doing a while back. A lot of people don't do it. I don't know if any of y'all do it. But clean out the outside edge of the fifth wheel. I usually do this on all of them. And it just makes the appearance of the truck look so much better in the rear end.
I see, right around where that grease
Yeah.
is, but on the outside.
Say for instance, we don't have anything to draw with. Say this is the fifth wheel right here.
Yeah.
And what I do is when I'm washing from this side of the truck, I stand on the cab side and I blow the grease back this way and back out that way. I don't blow it toward the cab. Then when I wash the other side, I hit that side and I clean all that grease off right there that's showing. And next week when I come back, there's just a little bitty strip of grease around the outside edge of that. Comes right off.
Will they unhook the trailer from the tractor?
You can do it with the trailer on there too.
Oh, you can?
Yeah, you just bend down. You just got to bend over though. And that's all there is to it because there's about this much space. And I don't know, unless y'all got any more questions, we can go out and I can show you my trailer. Show you what I got.
How, are you keeping busy in the market here?
I work weekends only.
He's turning down business, he just give away what? How much money was that a week you got rid of?
About $4.20 a week. No, that's a bi-weekly.
What was that then?
Washing tractors and oil tankers.
You're getting picky.
Well, you can, you know, once you get to enough business, you can be picky.
Remember, he's full-time student at UTA,
Oh,
junior,
Yeah, I go
senior,
to college.
so he's just doing it on the
Junior.
weekends.
Right. That's how I'm getting through
And
college.
I gotta go to college and learn to do this.
Dad says I gotta pay for it, so I guess I'll work.
Okay, hang on for just a second, Mike.
I think you're smart for doing that, Robert.
Oh, it's the hot water rig right here. I'm sure if any of y'all are familiar with this, I can break it down and show you how everything works. Yeah.
Is that a wing burner?
I'm not sure what kind.
Yeah.
Yes, it's Wayne.
Flame. I use kerosene only. You don't use any diesel.
What do you use?
Propane because at the time, this is what the doctor took me at a good price from Dad.
Maybe I better go and ask Dad. I mean, I'm more interested in propane because it's clean. I know more about it.
Right. If propane would have been available, that's probably the way I would have gone.
If Dad had had a propane, that's what the son would have had, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I want to know why, because basically I think propane is.
What is the other motor?
Okay, this is my cold water unit up here. All right. This unit here is
Whoops, I'm sorry. I didn't see you said it.
Eyewitness news here.
that's Got the 18 horse bricks, it's the same. It's got the same kind of pump on it as this one back here does. The only thing it doesn't have is a generator and the heater. Everything else is the same. Yeah. That motor right there has been rebuilt. It used to be on that one back there, but I run out of oil. And I took it apart for a new crankshaft and rods in it. Two rods. And then put it onto this one. Set in the garage about 2 years before I did it. But
Is that an 18 horse over there?
yeah.
That's a better motor, the red ones?
It's just a new one. That's an old one there. There's no difference in them other than the age. And that one has, if it runs out of oil, it'll shut off automatically. This one won't. It doesn't have it. As far as I know, that's the only difference. I don't know what else it is. This is my soap. This is my 30-gallon soap tank. When I started out, all I had was that little bitty Durablaster, or that, I call it Durablaster. It's that R1337. And I put all the stuff in the back and rolled up all the hose on the ground and threw them in the back. And I got a trailer with this on it right here, and that was the only thing that was on that trailer. And that was about 5 months after I started. About a year later, I got this right here, and I didn't have a 500-gallon tank. I bought a 150-gallon tank at that time. And all I had on it was the tank, that machine, and I bought the hose reels. It saved me about 30 minutes each job just to have these hose reels on this trailer. Yeah, you just roll them up and go. After that, I put the little unit back on it, added another hose reel, and after that I got this one, added the gas tank. Well, I wasn't coming back after 5 gallons ran out and poured another 5 gallons in. I just took, you go down to the junkyard and get you a gas tank off a truck or something. That's what that is there. It's off a Chevy truck. And it holds 15 gallons and it usually lasts a day.
That runs off both motors?
Right, it runs both motors.
That's gasoline?
Gasoline.
And what's your burner burning?
Kerosene.
Kerosene, okay.
That's all I use.
What do you get the kerosene carrying in these jugs?
No, it has a tank on it right here.
What happens if you run out? Carry some with you? Just in case you
Yeah,
run out?
but I rarely run out. Usually it'll last me somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 11 hours before it runs out.
So you know about
Yeah, I usually have an idea about when it's going to run out. Sometimes it runs out and I just finish the job up with cold water. Usually it's maybe I got it 30 minutes to an hour left to wash it. It's built in. It's right here.
Oh, it's part of the boiler?
Yeah.
You got 2 guns off this one pump.
No, I have one gun off that pump and one gun off the front one.
I know, I see 3 reels up here is what I was getting
Okay,
at.
the other one's is a hose reel for water hose, garden hose.
Oh, I'm with all of
Okay. Okay. All right, on this run right here, you're asking about soap and how you get soap in under pressure. What you do is, this is how I use mine. There's different systems for it. And what you do, you got this tank or you got a water hose running into it. It's putting pressure into the pump. What you do is you get you some kind of system to meter down that pressure until the pump is pulling that water in, where it sucks it in. And that's how it gets soap to come in under pressure and pulls it in under pressure. And then all you do is put some kind of gauge in. This is a metering valve. I set my metering valve so employees aren't messing with it. And then this, as far as they know, this is the soap on and off right here. And my metering valve's right here. They don't know what that does. The only one knows what that does is my little brother. No one else knows.
Where's your cutoff rate? Say you want to turn on the pump or something? Is this it right here?
That's an unloader. You can do that with the unloader. But I usually run it at 2,000 PSI all the time.
Okay, say if I want to run 1,500 or 1,000, that's where I unload it right there?
Yeah.
So what I do,
You just
loosen it up or tighten it?
leave it loose. Yeah, you
Vice
loosen them up.
versa, yeah.
You loosen them up. And the only thing that'll do is it'll just cycle more water back through your pump.
You don't have no gauge? That's not hard on your pump?
I had a gauge that broke. That's why I have a gauge back on it. But usually where the gauge will go is right here. This is where my gauge will be.
So this right here is what...
That's my unloader.
You can run
Yeah.
this from 0...
Stick this in your
Look.
soap to 3,000
Yeah.
or from
This
3,000
one-
down to
This
1,000.
one here does. And this one, if I want to run something else to it, that's what I use it
Oh,
for.
is that your acid deal?
No, that's not acid. You don't run acid through your pump. It'll eat up your pump.
Oh, I see
If
what
I want to run acid, I don't know if I got the needle valve. If I wanted to run acid, what I put in right here on the end of the hose reel, I got quick disconnects on it. I don't have it with me. But here's one. I have quick disconnects going in both sides of this. I have a hose running off here. I stick this in. What this screw does is when I got it on low pressure, I turn it in until it starts pulling in soap. And this screw right here allows me just the amount it pulls in, or acid, I'm sorry.
Once you're set, once you got it set up, you're all right.
And the arrow right here determines which way the flow should go, which would be this one.
It's the same thing as your metering down
Set off one.
Well, as far as anything, it's as far as the comparison goes, they both suck in. And that one, it doesn't interrupt the flow. The only thing it does is the flow that's interrupted is by this other gauge, which meters it down, so the pump sucks it in. And this one here, it creates a jet. You know, when the flow, just say for instance your wand flow, the air around it sucking right into it. And that's what this is, to get water to suck up your acid.
How do you buy your kerosene?
I buy it from a distributor here out of Fort Worth, and they just put a tank out of my property, and I call them whenever I need to come fill it up. That's how. Yeah, that's how.
What are you paying?
I was paying $125. Now I'm paying $145.
But yeah, is it a hotter burning formula?
This same pump will run.
Kerosene, it's a
Same as
K1
diesel.
kerosene. It's K1 kerosene. The diesel
This,
burns
no,
hotter,
this won't run
but it sits
propane.
more.
I'm talking about this heater burning. Same
Right.
hot water wash.
Yeah.
So diesel.
Yeah,
burn
that takes
harder, but-
that burner
but I
won't
don't
burn
like-
propane.
Oh, I know the burner won't, but I mean, you use,
It'll sit up
pull
your
the
burner,
burner out,
give
then you
pumps
put
in
the
your
propane burner.
Uh,
Do the
Yeah.
same thing
Diesel-
propane can.
You'll
Yeah.
sit up your burner. See back here on the back
Yeah.
how this does here? Well, that right there is from having diesel run through it. They set it up, but the air can't get out of there. So it finds any place where it can come out. What it does, it comes out back here, and that heat heats up the skin and it'll burn it up. And that's the reason you don't want to burn diesel, is because it'll burn up your unit.
What's the life out of a diesel type burner?
Diesel,
Yeah.
use the kerosene,
No.
kerosene, or
Yeah.
I wouldn't know about diesel.
What's the life of one of these?
This one right here,
I can see that.
Probably close to 10 years old.
The coils, I've had it for 4 years. No, 4 years. I don't know how long the other people had it before me, but I've never replaced the coils in it. It's got the same
You
coils.
ran it strong. the heck out
Right.
of it.
Yeah. Run it every weekend.
But you run it hard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
2,000
they're pretty
PSI.
durable. They're not going to break down tomorrow
Yeah.
or something.
They've got Schedule 80 pipe in them, so that's going to last you a while.
Now the hose I got that real high pressure hose, that red. It's pretty thick.
Uh-huh.
Because after a while, this just starts
Good
giving
back.
out.
Yeah.
That real,
Right.
you know, it wasn't.
Right. I know what you're talking
it was
about. This I got some up here. It's green. It's
Okay.
green, but it's
Well, mine's
like what
red,
you're talking
yeah.
about.
Real
And it
thick,
doesn't
yeah.
have any vinyl stuff on it. It's just rubber,
Yeah, it's
right?
just a-
Yeah. Yeah, that's
So
the
you
best
can run
thing
over
to
it,
use.
do whatever you want.
That's the best thing to use. The only thing you got to watch out for is your hose ends.
Yeah. This
Other
was
than that,
machined on it. It's sucked up high. It weren't sequence.
yeah.
And that's your holding thing. The water.
Right. That's right.
Minimum you should carry.
I usually carry 100 gallons or less. The only reason I got this is when I got the Extra Drugs account. And on that Extra Drugs account,
There's no water out there.
yeah, some places don't have any water. Like I'd go do 4 stores a night, 2 of them wouldn't have water. I get enough water at the last store to go do the next one, and then go from there.
I
And,
don't fuss with you about that.
no, I usually use water at all my accounts. They supply the water.
That saves you money there too.
Yeah.
You don't have a float system on this at all?
No, no flow
Just
system.
gravity. You always work out of this.
Yeah, I used to have that hooked up, but it's not hooked up anymore.
You just throw the hose.
I
in
just
there.
throw the hose in the top where I have it hooked up on I don't have it hooked up on the side. Now I throw it at the top because I need as much water I can. I don't want to put any restrictions on it at all.
So you work everything from the tank, and
Yeah.
the customer's water goes into your tank.
Right.
Yeah. Why do you work everything from your tank? Why don't you work the rest? What's the difference?
From this here,
Not pumping
Well-
enough water.
right, it's not pumping enough water. Plus, 2 reasons. I got two machines to run off of one water hose. I'd have to split them up. If I did it like that, I'd have plumbing in the line, which would slow it down. I run it up here, I get more water coming out, and I got a holding tank that if I get in a situation where I don't have much water, I've got a supply.
Yeah. Okay.
This maintains the same amount of water at all time when you get your equipment set.
Right.
Well, you might go to one side of town, they might have 50-pound pressure on the faucet. Go to the other side of town, might not have a 25-pound.
Right.
Depending upon the lines and the elevation.
Right. Right.
Do you always run at about 300 gallons all the time?
No, that's what I said a while ago. Usually it's around 100 or lower.
Okay.
But usually it's an area of 100. Now, if I know I'm fixing to go to a job that doesn't have much water pressure or anything, then I'm gonna try to get up here as high as I go. I'm not gonna go turn the water off early or anything. And since I increase the gallons per minute on this one here, usually I run all the water I can the entire time I'm at any job.
How many gallons are you pumping?
If they're both going at the same time, it's 10 gallons a minute.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever tried
It's hard to
pulling
keep
that
up.
full?
Yeah.
I run out at 5 gallons, and sometimes I'm in areas where there's low water pressure.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's hard on your pump too.
Yeah, it is.
You don't know
Starve it,
until
you
it
starve the
starts
pump.
Right.
oscillating, and then
Yeah.
you know there's a problem.
Do you have this right here, a float valve on it on the?
I have a little float tank, yeah.
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 I would suggest getting maybe even a 150 gallon
That's
tank.
what
if
I'm
you can
gonna
or
have to
something.
do.
Yeah.
And use that for a float tank.
Because there won't be any restriction on you. You'll get a lot better flow of water because one reason you don't have a float that's going up and down very slowly. You've got continuous flow of water at all times. That's another thing you can do. If you keep running out, if the customer don't mind water running out of the ground, just going in the top of the float tank. Just
Oh,
let it run
instead
out.
of,
Yeah.
because the float can't react fast enough
Yeah,
to the demand.
depending on the water pressure.
Well, that could be hard on the machine to float all the time, up fluctuating so
Yeah.
much.
You have trouble pulling this full.
I've had one accident.
Don't you find it's easier to pull full than it is half full?
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. I thought you were asking about the weight of it.
No,
Yeah, full or empty. If I'd have known it was going to be like this and I come up here today, I'd drain it. Because that water slashes back and forth.
There's no baffles.
Right, there's no baffle.
What's your
Oh, which way you get the most of the
Yeah.
water, it's going to keep continuing.
Right. But
What's the model designation for this unit here?
this is a 925, is that right?
Yes,
925, force
it would
5.
be closest to
It's
our,
not a force 5 anymore. It's got a different pump on it. I don't know what it is now.
it'd be closest to like our RK 5300.
Are you using the same type tanks now?
Everything's the
boiler?
same except for the pump. It's got a different pump.
Okay, now, is your plumbing coming out of the tank, is that 1 inch or 1 1/4 or?
3/4.
3/4
inch
straight in?
plumbing, right. The hoses are, yeah, everything's 3/4 inch.
You got-
Until it hits the pump, I believe it goes down to 1/2 inch.
Where are you coming on?
Then 3/8 inch coming out of the pump.
Off of the tank? Machines on the other
Okay,
side?
off my tank, it runs right out behind this toolbox. Here's where the pump comes off, right here. One of these hoses goes to this, and the other one goes to
You're not running into the pump system. It's going right
No, right, just go straight to it.
Is it better to have one tank, or if we use one tank, or use it as a baffle and back in the pickup, is it better to use one tank, the baffle wise, or
Oh, if you're gonna have it in the back of the pickup,
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend putting it back to the pickup.
I got a 1-ton flatbed.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
all
got
right.
duals, it's a
Okay.
pretty stout truck. The guy told me to run
Well,
duals.
if you had 250 gallons, it's going to be 1 ton.
Yeah, well, what I already had in mind, I could order them anytime because I know this guy owns a plastic company.
Uh-huh.
He says, if you're running one whole tank like this, it'll slush too much. He says, get 2 150s
Uh-huh.
and it sort of baffle up into one. So I don't know which route to really go, you know. I can understand where this would be in the back of your pickup. Every time you make a turn, you can feel like slush.
Yeah.
But you want at least a minimum of 300 gallons on a job site, huh?
Right.
That's at least
I was
about
going to say, your weight of your water, if you got a 1-ton truck,
Right.
240 gallons,
I understand that.
or 300
but, you know,
gallons, that's 2,000
That's like every
pounds
truck
right
going
there.
down the road. They're always overloading and everything.
I think it's 8. Yeah.
8 point something per gallon.
Yeah. That's a lot of
8.3.
weight.
Yeah.
So when this one's full right here.
Okay, Larry, if you would you go over this unit?
Okay, what we have here is a Roscoe model 5300. 5 gallons a minute at 3,000 PSI. It's powered by a twin-cylinder 18 horsepower Brick Stratton engine. We use the model 201 inner pump and a 2,000 watt generator. set up with a dual soap draw. This machine normally would be found with the trigger flex on it. We haven't had time to install it on this unit yet, but it is standard equipment on these trailers. As I said, it's 5 gallons a minute at 3,000 psi, and that's pretty much all the washing power that you need to do almost anything with. It comes equipped with 150 foot of pressure hose and 75 foot of garden hose, which is plumbed into your float tank on this rig. It's got a 5 gallon fuel capacity, gasoline. It's set up so you can draw 2 different types of chemicals. You can draw soap, wax, heavy duty degreaser. You have the dual outlet right here on it. Machine, except for the fact that it is mounted on a single axle trailer. And
Point out the burner area, Larry.
all right, this is an oil-fired burner, Wayne burner. It's got a 10,000 volt transformer that ignites your fuel. You have 2 electrodes up inside of here that are gapped and positioned just near your fuel nozzle, so when your fuel pressure comes up, it comes out your nozzle at around 110 to 120 psi. Goes into a fine mist, and these igniters are arcing, throwing voltage between the 2 points. It's an extremely hot spark.
They make a blue spark.
Yes. It channels this fire up through this coils of Schedule 80 steel pipe, or iron pipe. The water circulates around and around and around in circles. This fire goes right through the center of it, and it heats the pipe and heats the water as it goes through. That's where you get your 200 degree temperature, or whatever you set it to run. We set our units to run in that range at the 200, not to exceed 200 degrees.
Where's the exhaust come out at?
The exhaust comes out right here at this stack. This is something you need to be careful of. We advise people not to restrict this by using stacks. We do have some customers that like to mount these machines inside of vans and in enclosed areas. If you do have to mount a stack, you need to use something that's at least 12 inches in diameter. That's much, much larger than what you would actually need to fit this. But that's what it takes to keep from restricting it, thereby causing soot build up in your coils and causing you maintenance problems later on down the line.
What's the length? Is there any, is the length
As long as you, the length is not restricted as long as you go with a large enough diameter.
Can you go straight up, or can you go out the side like a van if you put it in?
You can go out the side, but it's better to go straight up. Again, any bends you make in a stack tend to cause restriction. This is a fuel tank right here where this chrome cap is for your kerosene or diesel fuel. I'm sorry?
How many gallons? 5 gallons, 3 gallons?
No, this particular unit holds about 12 gallons of fuel, actually about 11 and a half. That's enough fuel to run you quite some time when you're washing, because when you stop to consider, you wash with hot water and you rinse with cold water. So,
What's the difference with, like my unit's only got the fuel tank separate from the burner. It's just got exactly set up, but with the fuel tank separate on the side. There's no difference?
there's
It's all-
virtually no difference. It all does the same thing. It all ends up in the same place. It's just the
It's
difference.
got the same setup as this, but it only comes right off the stack there, rounds off, and the
Mhm.
fuel tank's separate.
This is just a different design, and I feel like a little bit neater package because
Yeah.
it's all in one.
Yeah.
One.
What's the difference with the coils and the heat thing set upwards? Instead of set at an angle, these
All right.
coils are set like these, and other ones are set up.
There's lots of differences. We feel like it's just more or less a matter of choice in most cases, what you feel most comfortable with. Although from a maintenance standpoint, I prefer the horizontal, which is what this is, as opposed to the vertical. They're much easier to work on, and you seem to have fewer problems with them. I can't prove that, but it just feels that way, or seems that way, you know. It is much simpler to work on, though, when it comes time to work on it. That's the only difference between those two things. We also, Delco, put some things on their machines that a lot of people don't. On a trailer-mounted machine such as this, and that's what this machine is designed to be, a trailer-mounted machine. A problem with all this weight sitting out here, when it bounces, it would have a tendency to pull the screws out of these end caps. So they install short straps about 2 inches long. If you look around here, you'll see what I'm talking about. Right here, there's a short strap with these big screws to hold it onto the tank. Rather than being held by these little bitty screws right here, you have the large. Right. It just gives it more support.
I notice you got an inline filter, a big inline
Right.
filter.
Right. These filters are real inexpensive to service. The elements are like $2 or $3 a piece, and that's the best insurance you can get
Yeah, I
against
got
having to
just a
replace
regular-
a fuel pump.
Pretty regular.
Yes, sir. You should change them.
But how many hours?
Well, there's no rule of thumb for that because it depends upon the quality of fuel you run.
Exactly, yeah.
And
Good kerosene.
good kerosene, you shouldn't have to change it quite as frequently as you would with diesel or something like that. Also, it's important that you top off your fuel tank every day when you get through using it. To keep condensation out of it.
Water.
Yeah. That's what will happen. Water will condense inside of there.
This will burn diesel, evil, kerosene, either one.
I'm sorry now?
This will burn evil, fuel, diesel, or kerosene.
Yes, sir.
Is there a setting to burn either one? Because hot or cold? Just burn, whatever will burn.
Well, either one of them will burn, diesel or kerosene. We do recommend that you burn kerosene because it's a cleaner fuel.
You got it's clean as lighter. Anything light is clean.
Right.
That's cleaner than this.
Well,
Right.
Kerosene's almost straight as alcohol, isn't it? Sort of tight.
Well, it's a clear fuel and it's a lot more pure. It's not as pure as say JP4 jet fuel is, but it's just more. It's a more refined version of
Yeah.
diesel. And kerosene won't burn quite as hot as diesel will, but it burns much cleaner and saves. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Fewer problems in the long run.
This hole's non-collapsible. I mean, the pressure won't.
The pressure will not collapse it. This is polybraid hose. It's it'll withstand 150 to 200 pounds of external pressure, and I've never put it to a vacuum test to see what would collapse it, but I'm sure that you won't create any vacuum on this machine that collapses.
Do you have separate brochures on
No,
each
for this
individuals?
No, just the flyer.
You got little
The,
flyers or just whatever's
Just
in
the
the
paper, just the
Comes out
newspaper.
of the factory. We've done some experimentation with it. Just enough power to operate your burner.
Is that how many, 2,000 watts?
2,000 watts. It's not really designed with the purpose of you being able to run any power equipment off of it.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not recommended that you even attempt it.
Mine's got dual plugs on it. It's a generator with dual plugs.
Right.
And it runs the burner and everything. It said you can run
You
up to
can,
110
but
off
if you
it.
start
Overload.
overloading it, you'll burn up your generator or you'll cause burner problems. And we feel that it's better to keep the machine pure and have fewer problems with it. And if you do happen to find out in the long run that you need a generator, then you can just put a small portable generator on there.
Where do you drain the oil out in order to don't make a mess all over the place?
All right. Right up under here, plug. You just take this plug out, and oil comes out.
Well, I know, but what keeps it from running all over your trailer?
Okay.
They
All right.
didn't design something?
You can just get a small flat pan. This engine doesn't hold that much. It doesn't even hold 2 full quarts of oil. So you just need a small flat pan, like a baking sheet, like your wife might use to bake a cake in or something like that. Works very nice. Take that plug out, the oil runs out, and you can flip it right out.
You know, I noticed your filter, your oil filter.
Where's my good big fan sheet?
Yes, it is. It's in a very tight spot. But
She'll cook
there's,
some brown
from
rice,
a
grease,
maintenance
and say,
standpoint, I suggest that you check your V-belts periodically anyway, and a good time to check them is every oil change. It doesn't take that long to take this guard off.
How much slack should have in your belts? How much slack?
In your pump belts, there should be none. They should be
So
just
this
as
should be
tight
exactly tight.
tight as you can possibly get them. And in your generator belts, they can stand some slack in them. I'll hurt you there. But you need to inspect those belts on a regular basis, and that's a good time to do it when you're changing your oil and your filter. So this is the Roscoe RK30. It's 5.2 gallons a minute at 3,000 psi. It's powered by a Briggs Stratton 18 horse twin-cylinder engine. It's coupled to a 202 WS202 inner pump through a gear reducer.
Gear reduction.
Gear reduction, right. This is set up to operate off of one trigger gun. The reason I'm stating this is because the first question I get out of people is it hooked up to two guns? The answer to that question is no, because you don't run enough volume through your pump to justify it. If you put two guns on it, it cuts your volume in half, and it cuts you down to like 2.5 gallons a minute, and that's not enough volume to wash with. We set it up with what we've proven to be the finest equipment that we can place our hands on and still be able to sell to a customer. It's something that he can afford. We use the inner pump. Again, I say this from a maintenance standpoint is probably the finest pump on the market. You can buy a more expensive one, and if you spend enough money, you can buy one that's good, but you can't buy one any better. When it comes to maintenance, it requires very little maintenance, and from that standpoint, when it comes time to overhaul this pump, I can overhaul one of these pumps in half the time that I can overhaul a Giant or a Cat either, and do so much more cheaply too.
This looks exactly like a General.
It is. A General and an inner pump are the same. They're made by the same company.
Now, listen.
No, you can't direct drive it because the engine speed would not allow that.
The question was that what's the difference between that pump being on a belt drill
Yeah.
All right.
and this pump?
All right. The difference is the difference is this is a WS202. That's a 201. All right. The difference between those two pumps is the speed you have to turn them to achieve that volume at that pressure. That's the name of the game. This engine has to run a certain number of RPMs to stay cool, or it'll burn up. All right, so that's a fixed thing. In other words, you have to run from 28. You can run as low as 28 or as high as 3,600 RPM. Although we don't recommend going that high. You can set this engine up to run at 3,000 RPMs through this gear reducer, and that gives you just the volume and pressure you need.
And this is how much?
5.2 gallons a minute at 3,000.
Well, it's the same thing as that one.
Yes, it's essentially the same.
Setup.
It's just
With
a
gear
different
reduction.
setup.
And notice this burner's up.
All right.
Way down.
Yeah, we'll get into that in just a minute.
Did you like this much better than the pulley?
Yes. Yes, I find that this is better than the pulley because you don't lose horsepower through a pulley. You will lose horsepower trying to pull it through a pulley, but you won't in that gear reduction.
But it costs you more money when it goes down, too.
Yes, it costs you more when it goes
And
down.
more maintenance because you got to keep checking the oil.
You do have to keep checking the oil. Now,
The advantage
on
and disadvantage.
on the other hand, you don't have to have a belt guard that costs $200, so that makes the machine a little bit more reasonable. You don't have to worry about changing belts on a regular basis, which you do have to on good V belts nowadays are real expensive. They're not like they used to be, where you could go up to the corner auto parts store and pick up a V belt for $2 or $3 or $4. A good V belt to drive one of these units costs about $25 to get a good industrial grade belt that'll last you. You need a notch type belt when you're pulling on those. What this does is this gives you the option. It's the reason we have this and that is the same reason why they manufacture Fords and Chevrolets, because not everybody wants the same thing. And what we look for is try to manufacture or handle a machine that appeals to each and every person. As I said, we put a lot of time in designing this to be certain that we wouldn't have problems along the line.
This is your blow-off valve as soon as it loads up.
This is a
Safety
thermoshield. you let up on your trigger, heat can build up inside your pump if you leave your trigger release for a long period of time. This valve is designed that when the bypass water reaches 145 degrees, it opens up and dumps the water out and lets fresh, cool water run in there and cool your unit down.
Okay, now, say this goes at 3,000. So I want to run it at 15. I just tighten this down or loosen it?
No, sir. We don't recommend that you adjust that. It's adjusted to operate at peak performance. If you want to change your pressure, change your nozzle. That way you can maintain the same amount of volume. If you adjust this like it's a regulator, which you can do, but if you adjust it like it's a regulator, then you bypass your water.
Yeah.
And you're not just cutting your pressure down, you're cutting your volume down too, therefore you're giving up your washing power. It's more efficient to go to a larger nozzle, which will drop your pressure and still allow you to maintain that 5 gallons a minute.
Even though I'm washing big trucks and all
Right.
that, it won't, isn't that too much pressure?
No.
Even with a nozzle?
No, absolutely not.
The nozzle will change the pressure.
The nozzle will change the pressure to whatever
Bigger
you
the
want.
nozzle,
The less pressure. That's right.
And I noticed this one's got a filter. Is that coming in before it gets into the pump?
Right. That's to filter the water coming out of this tank. Your water comes out of the tank through this gate valve right here, which is a restrictor. It allows you to adjust it for your soap trough, to create your vacuum for your soap trough. Also, it allows you a way of shutting that water flow off if you want to work on your system. You can select this tank by moving this handle. You can select this tank here. If you choose not to operate off the big tank, maybe you're just going to need a little bit of water and you don't want to fill that big tank up. So you just run your garden hose to that.
And it float shuts it off.
Float shuts it off. Also, some people will use this in antifreezing their units, getting it ready for the winter time. They'll run off of the big tank, and then when it comes time to antifreeze, they pour their antifreeze in this tank.
How about if you don't have a little tank like that?
Well, then you have to design a different way to do it.
Run it through the water before it gets into the system?
Well, yeah, you can put like a suction hose in on your inlet and select an alternate form.
The way it's going, yeah.
Right. All right, your water leaves this unit through this hose is conveyed over here to this heater. This is a 500 heater. It's a 500,000 BTU heater fired with LP gas. It's set up with an automatic pilot relighter, which comes on and starts sparking immediately when you turn this switch on, this burner switch on. This whole system is designed to operate off of 12 volts DC. So it operates off your battery right there, which is continually recharged by the charging system on your Briggs engine. So what you do when it comes time to use it is you turn your gas on, flip this switch on, turn this to the pilot position, and depress the switch, the button.
It'll ignite itself.
It will ignite itself. Once it gets ignited, becomes ignited, then you turn it over to the run position or the on position. And all this time you leave this valve turned off. This is a safety valve. This is something we put on these machines as a safety measure to keep you from getting burned. What can happen if your fire should go out for any reason and you attempt to relight it, it can come on with that gas valve open if your thermocouple is still hot.
Oh, I see.
And if it does, it'll flash fire back at you and send your hair or eyebrows or burn you. So you always close this valve right here, and that keeps that from happening. That way, even if the gas valve is open, this stops the gas inside and it can't go up to the burner.
Back up, yeah.
Right.
That's the main control. When you turn your burner on and off, you use that valve that Larry's got his hand on.
Right.
Yeah.
That's your operational
This is
valve.
much simpler.
Hold it right there, man.
Yes, sir.
This is, you just cut this on when you get ready to light it.
Yeah, you just
Yes,
turn
sir.
that on and off.
Yes, sir. Yeah, instead of turning it off right here and putting extra wear on your gas valve, you can turn it on and off right here. That saves the wear on your gas valve.
Just a ball valve.
Right. All this is just a brass ball valve. All right. This right here is put in the system because you can't keep some water from getting in there. And if the water gets into your gas valve, it's going to ruin it. So that water goes down your burner. If any water should get in your burner, it runs down this pipe and it puddles down in here.
Yeah.
And every so often you take this loose and let the water out.
But with the heat, don't it create, oh no, heat gets down there, heat's up there.
Right. Now this valve should be in that position, right?
All right.
Until you're ready to use the burner, it should be in that position.
Now, that's what I didn't think you said it. Well, I thought it's what you meant to say. I don't think you said it.
All right.
That's what I really want to go back over.
Yeah, once you get ready to use your burner, you have everything else lit, and you're ready to use this burner, then you turn that valve on and it operates.
Okay. That's after you get your power and everything.
Right.
Power it. Now,
This is electrical safety switch? something
This
like
is a flow switch. And then you've got enough room in here that you can set another hose reel, or even two. By going out with these, you can space them and get more hose reels in here. Right. We've got a 65-gallon fuel tank here that'll carry you quite some time. If you're gonna be where you can't get fuel, it's handy to be able to carry that much. I don't recommend that you use a smaller tank than that. It's not cost effective to do it. When you start buying these fuel tanks, you don't save that much money by using a smaller tank, and it'll cost you more in the long run. The principle is the same with the water tank. Notice our tank trailer has a 525-gallon water tank. The cost differential between a 525-gallon water tank and a 325 is so very small that it's not cost effective to go with a smaller tank. You'll pay almost as much, and sometimes that makes a difference in whether you can finish the job or not. You know, just that extra 200 gallons of water can mean a couple of extra vehicles that you can wash, or maybe finish up the side of one building that you wouldn't be able to do. So it's important. We've designed it that way. We have a 35-gallon chemical tank here, and there's a line running from your unit there right to this tank. That gives you a bulk storage for your chemical, where if you've got a fleet to wash, or you've got a lot of washing to do and you don't want to have to be stopping and swapping your soap line over, you can go for a long time with 35 gallons of degreaser or soap. You also have the option of using the extra line there if you want to use a heavy-duty degreaser to switch over to that. You've got a three-way valve to accomplish that with. Also, you could use hot wax or whatever you desire to use to work out. There's a fill line for your 500-gallon tank here. It will fill it, although it's not the quickest way in the world to fill it. It will fill it, and it will work for you. Some people decide after a while they want to fill off of a fire hydrant, so they'll get a fire hose and do that. That means the difference in whether it takes you an hour to fill a tank or whether you fill it in 3 minutes, you know. And that's about all it takes you with a fire hose, about 3 minutes.
On a ranch, we have made two big 2-inch lines with a load of, the nurse rigs was 500 to 600 gallons. You can load them in about 1.5 to 2 minutes. So we got one of them dunk in your no time.
Okay, this is a BG5 3500. Again, it's powered with a Briggs Stratton twin tube 18-horse engine. It's got the general pump, the W202. It's belt driven. Again, this is 5 gallons a minute at 3,500 PSI. It's a lot more pressure than most people need for washing trucks and things like that, but it's an ideal machine for cleaning concrete. It's something where you need that little extra power in there to blow something loose. This unit has the giant unloader regulator. We set them again to run for the maximum or the optimum setting on your unloader, the way it's supposed to be set. And we recommend that if you want to change your pressure, you go to a larger nozzle to change your pressure. It's got the twin tube Briggs engine with the oil pump. This is an improved engine that Briggs had just come out with. It's got an oil pump and an oil filter system on it now, and it adds quite a bit to the life of the engine having that. this is a pretty simple operation. It's got a thermal shield on it like all of our machines. So if you let up on your trigger for any length of time, it starts building up temperature in there. It'll pop off, dump the water out, keep your pump cool, keep from burning up your pump. Mainly, you know, but the big thing is it increases the life of your machine.
This is a lot better motor than that one. This they got.
I would have to check my paper to tell you. I don't
mean, ballpark figure.
around $3,000.
And this gives you 3,500 pound pressure.
Yes, sir. 3,500 pounds of pressure.
Okay, well this unit here work right into this heater. Right here.
Yes, sir. But that heater won't withstand 3,500 pounds of pressure, so not over a prolonged period of time. So
Strictly a
we
cold
don't-
water unit here.
Yes, we recommend that if you set this unit up with 500 heater, that you reduce the pressure to 3,000. It's just the market today is not set for machines that operate in excess of 3,000 pounds. There's just very little call for that. In most cases where people are using machines that run in excess of 3,000 pounds, they're using it to tear things up with, not to wash with, like to blast concrete, to actually physically destroy things. And that kind of pressure will destroy almost anything it touches. So you'll find that unloaders, regulators, hoses, trigger guns, almost everything is designed to operate around 3,000 psi. Although there is a cushion in there where it will operate at greater pressure than that, it drastically shortens the life of the machine.